with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the anonymous GM voting list. This happens like every single time to begin the season. Well, just before the season kicks off or tips off, excuse me. I'm so used to football. But aside from that, we'll start with the point guard. Like I said before, obviously, no, it's not LeBron, even though I wish it should have been LeBron. It's Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic got 37% of the votes from GMs on who they feel is the best point guard in the league. And, I mean, it makes total sense. Luka Doncic literally just made the finals and played pretty well in the finals. I can't really say that he played well in the postseason overall because he did have a lot of shooting efficiencies. But, yes, he is the best point guard in this league. And a close second was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who received 30% of the votes from the GMs, which is not a bad pick either. I mean, SGA vastly outplayed Luka Doncic in the postseason when they matched up against each other. So it's definitely not a bad argument to have SGA in this in the 30% range, like, because he did receive 30% of the votes. Next was Stephen Curry for Golden State, who received 23% of the votes. Obviously, I mean, respect to Stephen Curry, it makes total sense. But I do have Steph Curry at a top 3, and he is the bottom part of the top 3 in the point guard position. And then in fourth is Jalen Brunson. He received 10% of the votes for the best point guard in the NBA. And it's not really that bad. I completely understand Jalen Brunson being at having a huge percentage of the votes, having 10% of the votes, but mainly it was Luka and SGA dominating a lot of the GMs in their polls, which makes total sense. I have no complaints over there. Shooting guard is a little bit up for grabs, I think, though, and a lot of the GMs selected Anthony Edwards. He received 33% of the votes, and the runner-up to that was Devin Booker, who actually received the praise of being the best shooting guard last year from this GM poll. But this time Devin Booker only received 23% of the votes. I feel like the postseason and the over-exaggeration of the postseason has been a little bit of a blessing for Anthony Edwards, and I think he's slowly becoming one of the league's most overrated players. Yes, he did make the Western Conference Finals, but he was noticeably horrible in the elimination game against Denver and remained to be horrible in the series against the Dallas Mavericks, and I'm over here like, what in the world? Like, why is he getting so much of this hype when he played really, really bad? And some of the other notable players that were picked or that were voted into this as well was, for some reason, SGA again. Some GMs, I guess, they consider Shai Gilgeous-Alexander a shooting guard. So, like, in a league that's completely positionless, it makes a little bit of sense, to group up the point guard and the shooting guard together as a guard position. And Luka Doncic also received votes as well. He received 7% of the votes. Same with Steph Curry. He received 10% of the votes. For some reason, they put Steph at shooting guard. I don't know what is going on in the minds of these GMs, but hey, I'm not going to question it. I just don't think it's right. SGA should not have received any votes. He's not a shooting guard. He's a point guard. Same with Steph Curry. Same with Luka Doncic. And some other players that were receiving votes as well was Jaylen Brown and Derek White. Surprisingly, no Kyrie Irving, even though Kyrie Irving is a shooting guard and he was the second option on a team that made the finals. So I do have a little bit of a problem with how the voting worked in the shooting guard position, because I mean, Shai, SGA, Steph Curry, and Luka, 3 of the 2 players picked in this list weren't even like true shooting guards. And I mean, what about Donovan Mitchell? Why is Donovan Mitchell not on this list? I mean, like, I feel like Donovan Mitchell is a very competent shooting guard and one of the better shooting guards, especially in the postseason. I don't understand why he didn't get any percent of the votes for this poll. I don't agree with the shooting guard poll at all. And I think if I was to pick what shooting guard was the best in this year, it was probably going to be, I would pick Devin Booker, but that's just my personal opinion. I've seen Devin Booker play in the finals. I've seen him play really well in the finals, and I haven't seen that from Anthony Edwards. I haven't seen him really have that dominant kind of playoff performance in a deep round in the postseason, because, I mean, the first round and the second round, again, it's not, I don't think that's enough to warrant that you were the best shooting guard, but that's just me. We'll see how this season turns out. This one, I do not agree with whatsoever. It should be LeBron. End of story. No, but Jason Tatum ended up getting 47% of the votes for small forward, which is, in my opinion, just completely wrong. Like, he sort of won this by default by being the best, one of the best players on the best team and receiving 47% of the votes. And again, Luka Doncic appeared on this list, on this voting poll again. Some GMs think he's a small forward. He received 17% of the votes, along with Kevin Durant and LeBron James, who also received 17% of the votes. And in my opinion, LeBron should have been the best player on the best small forward in the NBA by these GMs. They're just a bunch of doubters. And I mean, Kevin Durant, he got bounced out of the first round, so he doesn't deserve to be there. And Luka Doncic isn't even a small forward. So I really think that this should have gone to LeBron James, and it shouldn't have gone to Jason Tatum. He could be the second. He's the second best player on his team. You can make that argument. I mean, Jaylen Brown won the Finals MVP and the Eastern Conference Finals MVP over him, so you can make an argument on the fact that he's not even the best player on his team, let alone the best small forward. And I mean, Jaylen Brown also plays small forward. So, but again, it should have been LeBron. End of story. And if you guys have anything to say about it, too bad. No, but let me know in the comments if you guys have anything to say about it, because quite frankly, I think it should have been clear-cut LeBron. Jason Tatum does not deserve to be dubbed as the best small forward in the league. Now, power forward, something that we all can agree with, Giannis Antetokounmpo, easily the best power forward in today's NBA right now. He received 77% of the votes. Nothing wrong with that. Kevin Durant was also on the power forward list as well. He received 7% of the votes. Other players that ended up receiving some votes as well were Anthony Davis, Draymond Green for some reason, Domantas Sabonis, Jason Tatum again, and also Victor Wembanyama, who I don't really agree with being a power forward. He's a center. I mean, he's 7'4", but I digress. Giannis Antetokounmpo received 77% of the votes. There's really no problem there. He should be considered the best player in this position, no questions asked. And the best center, obviously, is Nikola Jokic. He just came off of winning MVP for the third time in his entire career, and he received 87% of the votes, which is fantastic. The other 10%, well, not the other 10%, but 10% ended up voting for Joel Embiid, which I just don't think is true at all. Joel Embiid lost in the first round. He barely played at all in the last season. However, I will agree that there isn't really a center that I would put over Embiid aside from Nikola Jokic. And the last player that ended up receiving 3% of the votes was Victor Wembanyama. And while I do agree that Victor Wembanyama had a fantastic rookie season, I still don't think we've seen enough from him to determine that he is the best center in the NBA. I do think that he is at around maybe top 5 at the very least, or maybe even at the very most. I have to think about that again, but I do think that he is a very good center in the NBA right now, and he's only going to get better. But let me know in the comments what you guys think of this list, if you guys agree with the GMs and what they had to say and what they voted for. But now we're going to go ahead into another poll where we talk about who the GMs feel like is going to win the MVP. So we'll be right back after this short break. Be sure to stay tuned for that.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.